have an unidentified flying object.
I'm Jack Osborne, and you're listening.
This is Hudson Hamay, and you're listening to...
I'm Richard C. Hoagland, and you're listening to...
I'm Art Bell, and you're listening to Dr. J Radio Live.
We have an unidentified flying object.
All right, welcome back to a very exclusive session with Dr. J Radio Live. Everyone's been hearing about how to contact, I don't want to say extraterrestrials, interdimensional beings, UFOs far out there, whatever it be. You hear this from all around the world. Antonio Urzi from Italy is a very big prime example about this. Dr. Stephen Greer teaches the world how to do this. And we have in Los Angeles a very famous person who has made contact, and it teaches, that's most important, teaches every person out there to make contact. And one thing I'd like to do before we get started with this interview is I want everybody to remember what the Maharishi effect is. This comes from several of the interviews that we have done on this show. And the Maharishi effect is that meditation, what they did was they did a study where they took, okay, I'm going to put units to meditation. So for let's just say one person projects one thought of meditation / prayer, and it focuses onto something, you're going to achieve it. Well, if 10 people do it, it's exponential. I'm just putting numbers out there, maybe 100. They took 1,000 people and had to meditate on reducing crime in D.C. I don't remember what year. You can probably Google this yourself. Maharishi, Washington, D.C. And over a week, they found a drop in crime, I believe about 70%. That's a very significant number. Now, keep that in mind when you're about to hear what we are about to teach you, how to make contact yourselves. And with that, we are going to bring the one and only Fausto Perez. Fausto, welcome back.
Hey, Dr. J, thanks for having me on today.
That's great. All right, man. Let's get to the 4 steps. Let's teach everybody the 4 steps of how they can make contact themselves. And if they don't believe it, it's how they can go out and do it themselves. Now, I've seen anomalous video from you, and I've actually been to your events, and I've seen this happen with you and other people. So things show up. It's for others to decide what they are, but things show up. So let's get started, Fausto. What is step 1?
All right, so step 1, this is the most important one. It's learning how to meditate. Because a lot of times I'll have people come and just try to contact ETs, and they'll tell me they're not getting any results until I tell them, give yourself a week or 2 of just meditating, learn to clear your mind, keep your mind completely clear, and then that's when you'll be ready to send out a signal and call them.
Okay, so that's your first step is to meditate, right? And you said to clear out your mind. So everyone get that out there. Step 1, meditate, clear out your mind, and practice this for at least a week, you said?
Practice. It takes at least a week or 2, but practice it until you have nothing on your mind. It all depends on you, because we all know when we're thinking about our day and little pesky thoughts come into our heads and bother us and distract us. So you have to get yourself out of that mindset till it's at 0.
Well, okay, let me interrupt you. What do you do about these when you're in that zone, but your mind is still sending these thoughts to you? Like you said, those pesky thoughts, those negative thoughts, those work thoughts. How do you clear that?
That's the part where the practice of meditation comes in. You only need around 10 or 20 minutes a day. All you're going to do is focus on your breathing. So for 10 to 20 minutes, you just sit somewhere or lay down it, however you feel comfortable, and you just think, inhale, exhale. And you keep doing that. You're going to get hit with the pesky thoughts every once in a while, but maybe for a minute or 2 minutes out of those 10 minutes, you will have a real meditation. And it only takes a minute or 2 minutes of real meditation to actually make some progression in it, because then your mind starts getting trained. It's like affirmations, you practice it every day. Puts in your mind, you get used to it, and then it basically becomes you.
Okay, so then what would be step 2 to make contact?
Step 2 would be sending out the contact call. Now, this is why it's important to clear your mind, because when you're sending out a telepathic signal or message, or just think of sending out a thought. When you're sending out a thought, imagine you're thinking you're trying to send out a clear message, but these pesky thoughts keep coming in your head and distracting you. Whoever's trying to receive it, imagine what they're going to be hearing. come let me see you. Ah, shit, I gotta go to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse. I gotta go to work tomorrow. Let me see you. Oh, I forgot to feed the dog. Imagine how they're receiving that message with your mind being distracted. What they're gonna think or whatever it is, how it's gonna respond, if it's gonna come or not.
That makes complete sense. Okay, so when you're at what, so that would be step 2 is to focus your thoughts. But what kind of thoughts are you focusing?
Uh, Everyone does it differently. This is the way that I do it, but I'd suggest find a way that works for you because you're sending out a signal. The best way that you know to send out a signal to talk to somebody out there, that's how they're gonna receive it because that's telepathic thought. It's emotional. But anyway, to the way that I do it is I always identify them, and I used to identify them as beings in the sky, but over these last 2 years, I've tried different things. I'll call them buddies, friends, whatever. I'll just throw out to make it a broad reach for anything out there to basically know that I'm reaching out to them and asking them to show up. So I identify them first, and then I ask them to come to my location wherever I am. Sometimes I'll
So
think,
is that your second step? Or are we still on your second step, or have you moved on now?
oh, this is all the contact. What you're gonna send out as a message.
Okay, okay. So keep going.
All right, so the message will be identify them, ask them to come to your location. Sometimes I'll tell them, I'll imagine them feeling my frequency and then using that as like a beacon signal so they can hone into the area, the location. So ask them to show up, and then the last part is ask them to make themselves visible to you, to allow you to see them, because a lot of the times we'll witness these things come out of thin air and it's like they've been there and they were just not visible to our field of perception.
I love how you brought that up actually, because just a recent interview I did with Linda Moulton Howe talked about these dragonfly drones that were being scrambled because there's this self-activating software all over the planet, a lot of it in forms of crop circles. And what we became, we being the black ops, the government, whatever you want to call it, specifically, it was called Carrot in Palo Alto next to Stanford. I don't recall the full acronym, but it had to do with something with applications of advanced extraterrestrial technologies for commercial application. But for a brief period of time, they were able to descramble the signal and make make something that was invisible appear for a period of time, and then these things would flicker in and out of space, in and out of of what you're witnessing. And she would talk about this at length, and so does many other people, and so do people who will come to your event. There'll 50 people, 100 people will be looking at the sky towards nothing, and then all of a sudden things will show up. Why is this so important, Fausto? Tell everyone why it's so important, to focus a symbol, and why do you think that these things are always there, but they're all of a sudden they change from being invisible to becoming visible?
I think it's the feeling that I've gotten ever since I started was they want to make that people, or just maybe they want to make people aware that there is more, because we live in such a small-minded world where we think we're the only things in existence, and we're stuck in society. We're not advancing. We're keeping this hate going. And there's this quote I love that Reagan said a long time ago, that if we found out that there was an extraterrestrial race, imagine how it would unify the world.
That's right. That's right.
He
And
said it in a negative context where it would unify the world to attack them, but I'd like to think of it in a positive context where it would unify the world, realizing there's so much more. Why all this hate?
that's right. That's right. See, that you're thinking of the positive context of contact. Well, for that remains for everybody out there who is watching this video or hearing this to actually go out there and try and make sure you send your video to me, Dr. J at drjradiolive.com, or use the YouTube or Instagram or everything. Everything is under Dr. J Radio Live, DRJ Radio Live. Instagram, Twitter, Flickr, Tumblr, YouTube.com, you name it. And again, Fausto, the 4 steps real quick, and then I want to plug in where people can see your footage as well as they're seeing some of it right now as we're talking about this on this YouTube video. So plug in the 4 steps again in short length, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then plug in your names.
All right. So the first step is meditate learning to clear your mind. That's one step. So meditating is learning to clear your mind. Send out the contact call or telepathic signal, whatever you want to call it. Just focusing your thought on asking them to show up. And step 3, oh, we didn't even get through all the steps when we first talked about it. So step 3 would be pay attention to your surroundings. After you contact them, there are certain things that happen that will let you know if you're probably going to see something or not.
Well, hold on.
So
Back up a minute. Say that again. Like certain
paying
things that would happen, that would repeat that.
Yeah, there's patterns of things that happen when you have a successful contact. It happened every time, even before the anomalies show up.
Such as?
While you're meditating, if you can clear your mind, you send out a good signal, more than likely every single time out of a stagnant wind, it will pick up and you'll notice the wind just either rise slightly or a lot. And you'll notice the trees around you moving as if the trees had a movement of their own. And then after you notice the wind pick up, you will usually notice a predatory bird or a bunch of birds. Sometimes I've had it where it's tornadoes of birds flying in a circle, predatory birds with the birds they will usually attack flying together and not uh,
I
not
see eagles
attacking.
actually. I remember you've been doing this meditating, and out of nowhere, with eagles would show up, and then right
Mhm.
behind it. So that's okay. So that's you're continue on with that.
When actually it was funny when Tom DeLong came to my house to learn about
Yeah,
the
Tom DeLong of Blink 182. That's another thing. If everybody didn't listen to the other interviews where Dr. Stephen Greer talked about Tom DeLong flying him out here on a Learjet to learn this, and then I went ahead and said, well, I know someone who's Tom DeLong just popped up one day and showed up to his house. Tell us that story real quick before you could finish, and then go back to the 4 steps. What did he just show up on Facebook and reach out to you with and give you a number and disappeared off that or something like that?
Oh yeah, it was funny because I get this message on Facebook from like those fake accounts that are barely opened up and there's like no friends or anything.
Yes.
So it was like that, and it just said Tom DeLong and had a picture of him, and he wrote this message saying he's from Blink 182 and he's been studying ufology for 20 years. And he sends message me his email and says, "Email me. I want to contact you." So I message the email thinking it's a joke, and then I get an email response with a phone number saying, "Call me. I want to call you." And then I get a phone call, and then he says he asked to meet up, and then we schedule Wednesday, like 2 days later from that first day, and I still think I'm being punked this whole time. I'm imagining my friends are gonna show up to the door or something. And then Wednesday comes around and he says he's outside. I go outside and it's Tom freaking DeLong just standing outside the gate.
That's freaking crazy. And then so he also signed your guitar while he was there, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
The reason I brought him up is because on his interview and what was it on Coast to Coast? Yeah, his interview on Coast to Coast, he talked about meeting me, and he talked about that tornado thing happening, the tornado of birds. It was a bunch of crows, seagulls, and like 2 hawks at the top of it. And he noticed that, and it made him It made him notice the signals that happened or the symptoms. But it was a cloudy day that day, so we didn't really get to see anything. But because of the tornado thing with the birds happening, he was suspecting there was something to it.
So I'm going to make this clear for all the people out there. First one is meditate, clear your mind. Step 2, focus those thoughts that you're sending the signal. 3, concentrate on that call that you're sending out. And then 4th, be aware for the anomalies and then just wait and see. Is that the 4 steps in
Yes.
order? All
Yes.
right. Well, with that being said, your tags are Fausto_UFO. Am I correct?
Yes.
Fausto, FAUSTO_UFO. Everybody check that out. He's got a YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, and other accounts. And you can see a lot of all his footage there, as a matter of fact. Again, the 4 steps: meditate. 1, 2, focus your thoughts. 3, concentrate on the call. 4th, be aware. And I'm going to add a step 5. Everybody out there listening, try this and get back to me. Tell me what you experienced, and better yet, have a camera ready. With that being said, everybody stay tuned to drjradiolive.com, and you will see some more incredible interviews. As a matter of fact, John Lear is coming up, and a John Lear video from the last interview is just being posted, and just so many more. Congressman, congresswoman, a senator, NASA astronauts, they're all there. This is Dr. J signing off.
in my home, you don't kill roaches. Sorry? Do we kill roaches in this house? You got that? What do we do
Yes.
with roaches in this house, Story? We pick them up and take them outside. You heard it from the little girl.
That's right.
And so
That's
I'm
right.
telling you, the sensitivity, it's, that's what you do.
Yes.
And so
And it has
this little
to trend.
9-year-old, she's already into that game. And
She's
she can
got
pick
more
up
sense.
butterflies, huh?
She's got more sense than this person you just spoke to.
And so, but anyway, so when it's her time to look after these things, she'll be ready. When it's her time to look after Mother Earth, she will do it from the heart. Not because it's a political agenda. She will look after the earth.
That's exactly what I was saying. She has more sense already as a 9-year-old than that person you spoke to that didn't believe it was an ethical issue. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm a firm believer in that too. You have to respect life in all forms, and especially when it's their home, because everything is an integral part of an ecosystem. So to take any part of it away, I think it's very sad. Dr. Musgrave, it's always a pleasure. I don't want to keep you any longer. Let me ask you if you have any final words for anyone.
No, it's not final. We'll be back at it later.
We have an unidentified flying object.
I'm Jack Oswald, and you're listening.
This is Neptune Hammer, and you're listening to
I'm Richard C. Hoagland, and you're listening to
I'm Art Bell, and you're listening